I will be moderating this, so I won't be going anywhere. Maaike, welcome to our virtual stage.
Hey,
Hi, Maaike.
uh,
How are you?
I am good. Thanks. Thank you
Great.
for having me. I'm really excited to
Abs-
be here.
Wonderful. Well, we're excited to have you, so thanks for being here. So let's get started a little bit. Give me an introduction about yourself, and then we can start talking about the mission of the ProPharma Group.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been with the ProPharma Group for 2 years now. Started as a marketing manager in Europe. We have where it's a US based head office. They acquired European offices in Leiden in the Netherlands, the UK, Stockholm, and Berlin. We needed someone in this time zone to help with marketing and, well, to Sonia's point, with different countries have different demands, and to have someone that understands like European needs. So yeah, I joined 2 years ago, and what ProPharma Group does was we work with pharmaceutical, biotechnology, and medical device companies to bring medicinal products to market. So we support them whether they're in the phase of like discovering new medicine, or ready to go bring it to clinical trials to see if the products work, whether it's bringing it to market, whether it's they have an existing product and they want to launch it in another market where there's other rules and regulations about safety. And if you have a product, how do you make sure that you stay on the market with changing regulations, and that you're in compliance with that. So yeah, that's a little bit about me, and in general about the company.
Wonderful. Yeah, that sounds like a lot to do to deal with with pharmaceuticals, which I know is tightly regulated in many different markets. So, can you tell us about the impact the pandemic has had? Because obviously it's been a huge for the pharma industry. So to talk about the impact it's had on your business.
Yeah, so I think for us, the biggest impact, of course, in these unprecedented times was rapidly setting everybody up to work from home. And we were able to do that quickly and successfully implement 100% remote work. We have call centers because if you launch a medicinal product, you need to have a call center that can take like complaints or questions in a lot of different languages. So our call centers had to like be moved from offices to working from home, which was luckily something we could do very quickly. And like I said, with clinical trials, companies are working to test products, and suddenly had to like take into account that measures had to be taken to maintain subject safety and data validity. So not just for us, there were a lot of changes with the pandemic starting in the healthcare industry and everything that's going on. There were a lot of changes as well. Currently, we are still remote globally. We are talking about reopening some offices in Europe starting October, hopefully. But yeah, this what's been interesting is this company, it delivers a commitment to clients to ensure the health and safety of patients, even during challenging times. And the pandemic has kept regulators across the world busy with updating and changing rules and regulations for companies to provide safe and secure medicinal products. And with that constantly changing and updating, we've had to like reinvent ourselves as well, and work with our clients to make sure that they could be in compliance with those changing rules and regulations as well.
Absolutely. Can you talk about the ways in which this changes in the pandemic, COVID, has impacted your marketing strategy and your transformation plans for 2021?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Sonia said it, for every marketer, this was as a time where you had to like stop and think, what are we doing? Are we doing the right thing? Are the things that we are doing still working? And with our mission of improving patient health and safety, our entire team of experts is at the forefront of working with our clients for innovative solutions, also to address COVID-19 medicinal needs, but other products as well. And we've wanted to keep our efforts focused on sharing the stories of how we help our clients serve patients around the world. So we went to a more content strategy, more digital. So we're really working with our experts to put together stories like blogs and case studies, stuff that we can use digitally to get it to the people who want to learn, who want to know, like, how can I manufacture my product safely? How do I make sure I pass an audit from a regulator? And so the shift was really to provide the digital content, use more social media. How can you grow your LinkedIn base, which is the biggest platform for us, to make sure you're reaching the most people with those content pieces? Email marketing, what do you have in your database? What do you want to send to whom? And for events, which was one of the biggest marketing activities for us, where it's important in this industry because it's changing so fast and there's so much going on, to keep in touch with what the regulators are saying. So events for us is the place where we meet, we talk to those people who are also walking around on those events, and to learn, like, what's new, what are you working on, what's going on. But with that completely disappearing and going virtual, we've seen a change of people still wanting to learn about content, but not so much the interaction part of it. So we found that virtual events, which is of course what the event organizers changed their sort of their vision to keep the events going, but in a virtual platform, was for people to maybe in their lunch break sign on for a session that they wanted to see and learn, but and then tune out again to go back to work. So for the event space, it was a big change. So what we've changed then also is our view, like, what do we get from events, and how can we use these events to continue talking about our mission of improving patient health and safety. So we've changed to not just sending people to events, but have our subject matter experts speak, give presentations at events, so people can learn about the work we're doing, and we can teach the community what's new and how, which regulations are coming, that you need to change your ways to make sure that your products are still compliant. And that's worked out pretty well for us. I think those were the biggest changes. And to stay on the topic of digital and events, we've launched our own webinar series called Insider Talks. That was a bit of a journey. Not only who feels comfortable speaking to an audience that they can't see, how do you make sure that in your home environment you have that place where you feel comfortable, you have a quiet space, your house is like in right condition or setting to provide that story, which sometimes can be really serious if we're talking about products for serious diseases, that you're talking about bringing them to market, and how we can work together to make sure that those get to patients. This was, I think, the biggest part of the journey. Not so much, okay, which platform, because platforms were rising left and right with the transformation to digital, and the process. Okay, so doing a dry run, making sure that the right people are aligned to make sure the story is complete, and that it's not just a European story, maybe because there could be people tuning in from the US, and there, you know, the FDA has a little bit of a different requirement or a different process that than EMA has in Europe. So yeah, I think the launch of the webinar series was for us something we really had to like invent from scratch. That's been successful for us in transforming after the pandemic started.
Interesting. That's so fascinating. And yeah, it's interesting how what you were talking about, having to adapt it into a market, to a global market with different people tuning in from different places. It's funny how with Sonia on OkCupid talking about this again regionally, I know it's a challenge here in Europe for marketers who are wondering, you know, who have to work in so many different markets with so many different cultures. I think that's such an interesting way then that you have to think about that coming from, you know, a ProPharma B2B background, whether you're a dating app or a ProPharma B2B background, you're still having to make these same considerations. And obviously storytelling is core to that. And it's impressive that you were able to build this live cast or these webinar series to help engage your audiences. So I'm curious, like when everything goes back to normal, or if that's even something we can say, how will your industry have changed permanently, and or will it have at all? You know, are you going to embrace these digital storytelling channels? I imagine they're still going to be quite relevant. And why would you stop?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think the question we're all interested to learn more as we move into the future, like what is the new day-to-day going to look like? For sure, what we will recognize is how productive we can work remotely and not let physical geography stand in the way of making progress. I think we've all learned that is now possible, and that you can collaborate seamlessly with teams around the world on a global scale to continue the work that you're supposed to be doing. So I think from a company perspective only, we've learned so much about dealing with this new situation, and the new strategies that we've adopted about being a thought leader as a speaker at events, and these online webinars and a focus on social media, I think will stay, and we'll develop them even more, even further. As for the industry, I think one of the biggest things the industries had to learn with is the supply chain and the issues that bring new medicines to market saw with, you know, you're placing your order, and the company that you need to get it from had to like still implement ways to securely and safely ship it to you with new regulations of packaging, or people, only half of the staff being able to go to the office to package the material to ship it to you. And when you're talking about maybe your repackage of clothing or a pair of shoes, you're not as much worried about delays in time. But when it's medicine, when it's products that involve the health and well-being of humans, this is of course something that's important, that we need to, well, the world had to make changes to keep those supply chains going and coming. And it turned out that there was a weakness in that. We've not faced this before, not recently anyway. And I guess learning from this experience and addressing the issues of shortage and preventing them, I think is something that has changed the industry and will remain a point of focus also moving from this period.
Interesting. Yeah, it's such a serious challenge, and it's been, you know, a global challenge that we've all seen across industries. But obviously, in healthcare, it's, you know, it's life or death. It really matters to have medicine. So switching gears a bit, you've talked about blogs, you've talked about videos and tutorials and activating your teams to help tell your story. Can you talk about your overall kind of vision and approach for brand storytelling?
Yeah, so we have what we like to refer to. It's not just our mission, like improving patient health and safety. It's our higher purpose. Each individual in our company contributes to that, and whether you're in a marketing position like me or whether you're working with a client, you play a role in contributing to this mission. And for example, I don't personally work with a client to bring a product to market, but I communicate our patient safety story in Europe. So by sharing our success stories in European communities, I'm expanding our patient promise. And what we try to do is really, of all employees, contribute and try to live and breathe that this is the objective that we're working towards. And what we've done internally is invite colleagues to share their contribution to improving patient health and safety in 1 or 3 sentences. We're making banners out of them, so you can learn from your colleagues around the world, whatever their role is. What is the part that you're playing in this bigger story? So that's sort of the internal part of the brand storytelling. We all want to be expressing the same message. And then if you translate that to external communication, like I said before, we work with our experts to bring those stories outside. So how are we helping clients solve for problems like this supply shortages, or regulatory bodies being backed up with audits, moving some to virtual, but some could still be face-to-face? And how do you prepare for not having been audited for a little while, but it has to be done before the end of the year, and they're going to show up at your door? And how do you make sure you prepare also with new rules and regulations coming into place for their companies, to make sure that, with COVID, all the employees could even produce the product still safely. And I think that's how we really try to incorporate the story that we have to tell as a brand, from starting from the internal organization and what it is and how we contribute, and translating that to external communication. That's the approach of ProPharma Group from a marketing perspective to the brand storytelling.
Interesting. And do you have a favorite marketing campaign or platform that you've worked on?
Yeah, so like I said, the webinar, the Insider Talk series, was a really wonderful journey. Another campaign that was really interesting was something that we call a MIA license, and in short, that's you need a license to bring a product to a European market. And something that impacted that was Brexit. So it became a little bit of a extra complicated campaign, because how we would usually run it is you look at, of course, you have your plan with your segments and the activities that you want to do, and not only do you want to communicate how companies can go about getting this license to bring these products to market, you now have this whole other market that needed support, because without getting too technical, you need someone to release a product for you on your behalf. And with Brexit, there had to be a person both in UK and in EU. There's changes with border control. So you would get a check for your product at the UK border, then again at the EU border, then again at the product side that you need to get it to. So there was a whole big story that we had to tell, and it was a very complicated problem that companies had to face, that we're facing, that we wanted to solve for and play a role in helping to ensure that they could get their products to market. So yeah, I think that campaign was really interesting, and it worked out really well, I can happily say. But yeah.
I'm glad it worked out well. It sounds complicated. So this year you acquired eye safety systems and Diamond Pharma Services. So what impact have these acquisitions had on your brand?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think in general with acquisitions, the challenge is to ensure that you can keep the values that you stand for inherent, and that clients and customers know that they can still remain confident in what you're delivering. Not only the clients that we have as ProPharma Group, but also the new clients that are coming with these new companies. And it's really critical that your message show how this merger is making their customer experience even better. So first and foremost, this acquisition strengthened the position of ProPharma Group by adding to our breadth and depth of services. We provide our clients throughout the full product lifecycle, as I mentioned before, and these brands will be fully integrated under the ProPharma Group name, and it will help us remain focused on delivering the highest quality of services throughout the full product lifecycle. So the effect, like I said, it will have on our brand, I think, is very positive, because we've chosen these companies because they will be either an extension of the services that we provide or an add-on to a service we already have, which means that there's more experts available that our clients can rely on. So there's more knowledge, there's a bigger team of people that can support our clients when they face their challenges of bringing products to market. Yeah, so I think that's what these acquisitions will bring, and how I think what's the most important thing is to make sure that you can keep the client promise. And like I said, the internal story that we have about improving patient health and safety is something we immediately share with the new colleagues coming on board, and like what is your role in this, and be a part of this message that we're sending out. So that's a big part of integrating these companies.
Absolutely. And I imagine you also had a merger with the Planet Group. And do you feel the same way about that? Can you talk a bit about that?
So the combination of the two companies will accelerate growth opportunities, as well as support ProPharma Group's higher purpose of improving patient health and safety, and Planet's mission of supporting clients' diverse talent needs. We now have over 2,000 colleagues around the world, and like I said, it's having those people added like gives us really this big group of expertise available globally, who can speak different languages, who understand local environments, local laws, local regulations. So it will solidify the combined company's reputation as the value-added partner to clients. And I think especially with if we talk about the merger with Planet Group specifically, the life science business will be unified. That includes former companies under Planet Group as Treximo, NDA Partners also. And Planet Pharma, that's why it was a merger. There's a pillar that's Planet Pharma under Planet Group. They will continue to support the diverse needs of life science clients, and will maintain its well-established brand as a global talent market. So it was like an extra pillar that we were able to add to the combined company.
Interesting. Can you talk about how you're determining success and how your team is set up to use that information to impact future initiatives?
Yeah, so well, as we all know, data is very important in the marketing world. I don't know that we have any unique data that we look at. Obviously, website traffic and growth, web leads coming in, sales qualified leads generated, opportunities generated. We try to measure for our campaigns what is the data that we see from the channels that we're using, and also to not only look at, okay, so X leads came in from a campaign, but what's happening with those leads. So we're collaborating really closely with our sales team to make sure and to understand the questions that we are getting. How can we solve for them, and how can we get those questions as soon as possible in front of the right experts, so we can get to working with those companies to get the challenges solved. And we obviously capture everything in our CRM, email marketing metrics. We look at new customers generated, and the questions that we get will help us also understand how we can help the businesses better. Because sometimes, as you know, when you're sitting in your office, you can think of all the things that you want to market, but are those really the things that your clients need? So looking at the data is integral of your day-to-day marketing job. By capturing as much as you can, by analyzing, by talking, discussing internally, what do we see coming in? How can we quickly pick those up, and what's coming from it, and how can we use those success stories of helping another company into a case study, so that we can share more of how we work with our clients to help them bring their products to market. So yeah, a little bit about the data and a little bit about the full process and how we try to constantly improve ourselves to make sure the services are aligned with what the market's needing.
Absolutely. And I imagine you're looking at these KPIs and then determining what will be the next, and kind of steering the ship using this data.
Exactly. So whether it's your newsletter, you're looking at, okay, when, of course, email was said in the session before as well. It's the one tool that you can easily test and you can easily see results. So what does a certain content piece, what's the effect of a certain content piece to what the how to say, I don't want to say only the numbers. I mean, you look at the open rate and the click rate, but what does it mean? Like, what if you formulate a subject line in a certain way? How do you, I think with everything going virtual, email has grown because it became the only way of communication. So how do you still stand out with people's busy days and they're looking at all of their emails, and how do you make sure that what you're sending them is relevant and appealing enough, because in the end it will serve their needs as well. So that's how you try to work with the numbers to increase value.
Absolutely. So as we head into the end of the year, what is top of mind for you as you prepare for Q4 and into 2022?
Yeah, I think to elaborate on what we just spoke about with getting the right content to the right audiences, segmentation will be a big focus for us before the end of the year. Enable a more targeted marketing approach, especially with the businesses growing rapidly with acquisitions. This is becoming more and more critical, because we want to provide a soft landing to new clients coming on board through acquisitions. Like I said, the brand storytelling, we need to make them feel comfortable and assured that what the level of service that they're used to getting, the level of support, that they will continue to get this and more, because now we are a bigger team that can globally serve them, solve for their challenges. So yeah, I think moving forward, 3 months to go only this year. God has gone by quickly again. Segmentation is definitely top of mind moving forward.
Mm-hmm. And in the healthcare space, what do you think will be the biggest opportunity of next year?
Yeah, I think the topic of healthcare is something that's really big and will remain big. The trends that I expect for the next 10 years, even there'll be more patients, there'll be more technology, and in the end, the patient is the ultimate consumer. So I think for us, there's a big opportunity here with that focus on the patient to continue our journey and to express our mission, focus on improving patient health and safety. That's where the biggest opportunity for us lies. Tim mentioned it in his presentation as well earlier today. The focus is on the athletes, and that's the sort of like the end user, if you will, in the whole story. And that's what the story needs to be about, and that's what the focus needs to be on. And I think in healthcare, that will be the same, where the patient is the focus and should be the focus moving forward.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that the pandemic will still be the biggest challenge, or what other challenges do you foresee?
I don't think the pandemic itself will be the biggest challenge. I think the pandemic has the biggest impact on the upcoming challenges. So like I said, there's a big, I don't want to say there's a big, there can be backlog from companies having to postpone projects because they couldn't go to clinical trials with their products. So when this is going to be made more easy to launch a new clinical trial, how can we all ensure that those can start, and that there's enough facilities, and that there's enough people, and that there's enough communication around making sure those can happen all at the same time, because they're so integral and so important before that phase of going to market. Yeah, and like I said, the supplies and the shortages, those things are going to remain important, and they didn't come to light as much before the pandemic. So, but now it's clear that something needs to happen there in this world of healthcare to stay focused and to keep doing what we all expect this industry to be doing. So I don't think the pandemic itself is the biggest challenge, but it brought to light challenges that we need to prepare for and that we need to work on moving forward.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. That's interesting. I'm curious, as a marketer and telling a brand story, I know that with your background, you've worked both on the B2C and B2B side. What are the challenges and opportunities with both of these varying roles?
Yeah, so I think in the B2C world, you're really talking to the patients directly, or the clients directly. Like we just heard from Sonia, like her biggest wish would be to talk to these people and to be with them and to understand how she can support them better. And for us, it's really it's a little bit different, because we want to serve patients, but we are doing it by supporting the companies that can serve them in the end. So the communication that you're doing and the work that you're doing, you always have to remain focused on that end user, which is the patient, but you're communicating it to people that need to understand the importance for that other person, and not for us personally or as a company to work for. So I think that's the biggest difference, and that's in your day-to-day job as a marketer. It's a little bit of a divide, because the work that you're doing is working with these companies, but you can't lose sight of who the end user is and how you can support them in the end. That's the most important thing.
Interesting. So you have these different layers of storytelling that you have to come up with to engage both the clients and the companies that you're working with, as well as the consumers that they're going to be facing. And, it's an interesting challenge. And then you talked about the benefits of these online webinars and blogs and videos and things in engaging that. Do you find that by activating the experts within your company, within your partner companies and your clients, that's one of the ways to really help build trust and build authenticity within these communications?
Yes, I really think so. It's interesting how when I approach an event organizer and tell them that we're interested in a speaking slot, and they're like, no, for B2B and sponsorships, we don't let you speak because you're gonna pitch about your company and how great it is and that you're a consultancy firm. And then I try to explain to them the people that we work with are the people that work with the clients, and that's what we want to talk about. We want to talk about the cases where if you have a medical device that's on the market and there's a new regulation coming and you need to make changes to make sure you can keep that product on the market because people are using it, and how you can prepare yourself for what's coming. That's what we want to talk about. And whether you then talk to us to make that happen or not, that's less relevant then. So it's really interesting to your question, that the experts really are the ones at the front working with the clients to solve complex challenges about keeping products on the market, bringing products to the market, making sure that devices and substances are safely produced, safely packaged, and therefore for us it's really integral to work with our experts to share those stories and to incorporate those stories in the marketing activities we do.
Absolutely. Wonderful. This has been such a great session. Just any other closing thoughts you want to end on?
Wow, that's a big open question there. I think the biggest message that I have for our audiences today when it comes to brand storytelling is it will be much more natural and easier if it can come from within. And that's why starting with what's the mission of the company and how can you express that through all the colleagues that you have and have them play a role in how they contribute to that mission, I think in itself will be the biggest kickstart to your brand storytelling, and that it will be expressed through everything you do, not just as a marketer, but also the people talking to a client or the colleagues that are on client sites. If you can live and breathe, if you will, that promise, that's when your brand storytelling really takes off and comes to life.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I love that. Well, thank you again, Maaike, and thank you to all the speakers and moderators and the audience that has joined us today. We've had a great time hearing from a plethora of different companies, from the B2B side, pharma, from the athlete side, and then a dating app. It's been great to just hear like the important elements, whether it's just the simple kind of foundational, authenticity, staying true from within, to tell your brand story, because obviously there are millions of brands out there with different ways to approach how you tell that story. And please be sure to visit brandinnovators.com for more information for upcoming programming, and have a wonderful rest of your day.